World of Final Fantasy by Square Enix. This game has a lot of ups, a lot of downs, and we're going to talk about this. Now, I just played through this game, and the one thing I like is this game is basically an homage to all the Final Fantasy games throughout the series. In the game, you play as Lon and Ren, who are two twins who are basically suffering from some sort of amnesia, and they can't remember their past. And they're trying to, throughout the game, basically figure out what happened, why they can't remember anything, and make some rights for their wrongs and amend some things. Now, I'm not going to go much into the story, but I'm going to say a bunch of the things I like about this game is the game itself kind of reminds me of Kingdom Hearts, at least within the art style. It's very cutesy, it's very colorful, and at the same time, it's very interesting. You meet different characters throughout the Final Fantasy universe, as I mentioned, going back from Final Fantasy 1 all the way up until I believe it's Final Fantasy 13. In the game, you two are basically considered giants because you're regular-sized people, or every other character you meet in this game are basically, they kind of look like those pop figures, if you guys have ever seen them. The little anime-looking dolls. And I'll even show you on the cover what I mean, or at least on the back. And you can see the art style that they kind of went with this. Now, it's funny because, as you can see from the back, Lon and Rain can basically also transform into these forms so you can fit in with different scenarios. If that makes any sense, I don't know if I'm misspeaking there. But one of the interesting things that this game does is it has a stack mechanic. So basically, in the game, you collect these things called mirages, which makes this game kind of feel like a Pokemon game to an extent where as you meet and battle different mirages, you get the ability to capture them and add them to your team and add them to your collection. And each mirage has a different set of moves, different sets of abilities, and when you stack them, which is literally exactly how it sounds, you stack them on top of you as you battle, it adds abilities and techniques to your team, like HP, extra defense, and if that stack gets toppled, all of a sudden, you go from having this really super powered character to now having three individual weaker characters that can basically be taken out in one hit. Now, that mechanic is very interesting that Square Enix incorporated this in that game, because it makes the game, as I mentioned, kind of feel like Pokemon, but at the same time, it has the aesthetics of almost a Kingdom Hearts game. Now, also, story-wise, it kind of feels like Kingdom Hearts, because as you guys know, Kingdom Hearts is basically Final Fantasy meets Disney, and you get to visit different universes from the Disney universe in Kingdom Hearts. And in Final Fantasy, World of Final Fantasy, you get to visit different locations, all within the land of Grimoire, which is basically your main overworld in this game, from previous Final Fantasy games, except they've been kind of all thrown in this one element, and it's almost like they only exist within this universe because they're not in the worlds that they were in their original games. Like, from Final Fantasy VII, you reach an area of Nibelheim in this game, except it's very, streamlined, split down. But it's cool to just kind of see how they incorporated all these worlds to kind of make it feel like the title insinuates that it is the world of Final Fantasy. When I first picked up this game, I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. Now, through the majority of the game, it's witty, it's funny, the dialogue's good, and the gameplay is relatively fine. However, it does get repetitive. Towards the end of the game, the last chapter, for my main example, I just felt like it dragged out longer than it should have been. However, at the same time, I could see as to why Square Enix did this. I could see this being a game that they published to kind of incorporate a younger audience into the Final Fantasy series and kind of learn a little bit of Final Fantasy lore. Now, this game definitely wasn't challenging at all. I did not have to grind at all, and I was way overpowered just by the time I reached the final boss to beat the game. Now, there is, however, different endings in this game. Now, after you beat the main story, there is a postscript. So if you didn't get the full ending by doing everything there was to do, and even the postscript actually adds more for you to do, so I don't think you can get the full ending on the first playthrough. It allows you to basically backtrack and, do all these other optional side quests so you can get the real ending. That much I haven't done yet. However, it adds a nice amount of replayability to it, and I feel like I'm probably going to end up platinuming this game at some point just because it's fun, it's easy, it's witty, there's humor, the characters are good. However, as I mentioned, some of the later stages do feel a lot more dragged out than they should have. Now, is this game worth the pickup? Well, I picked this game up on Black Friday last year for about 20 bucks, and I think that's around the going rate for it now. Overall, the main story isn't long. I got to the final chapter, let me tell you, in 13 hours. But that final chapter takes about 5 hours to complete, and I was trying to cut through all the cutscenes, the battles, and it just kind of dragged out. It added an extra 4 hours to my gameplay. However, you know, it's not a bad game. It's very cool to see all the different characters through the generations make an appearance here. And overall, I would definitely recommend picking this game up if you get it for 20 bucks. It's charming. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it until you reach those later chapters where it doesn't really get tougher, it just gets drawn out. Those are my thoughts on World of Final Fantasy. You know, a game that has so much to offer and so much replayability. If you don't think you'll get bored with it, I think this game would be a great pickup for you. And if you like Final Fantasy, if you like the lower Final Fantasy, or if you're looking to get into the Final Fantasy series but don't want to basically have a grueling RPG as some of the games are, definitely pick this one up. It's a great game to play through, guys. If you've played World of Final Fantasy, leave your thoughts down below, what you thought of the game. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? As always, thank you for watching this video. Like it, share it, subscribe to my channel, and go check out all my other videos. Go check this one out. Till next time, have a good day.